Our special guest today is one of the nation's favourite chefs. He is so passionate about food, which is one of the reasons I love him. We're pleased to have him on the show. It's Antony Worrall Thompson. Thank you. And also joining me, two other favourites of mine, Paddy O'Connell and Maria McCurlane. Now, you know there are things that you think you will never say, and suddenly you find yourself saying them. I'm going to give you an example. I did hear myself saying, "Is that a man or a woman?" And you know, the awful thing is that I remember so well being with my grandmother on a bus, and she used to say things like that, and I was very, very embarrassed. And it's so awful that everyone says you turn into your mother, and then to find you turn into your grandmother. So I don't know, what, I mean, have you said anything you thought, what, I can't believe it?
Well, one of the ones that I'm saying at the moment, which I quite loathe, is it just me or is it hot in here? Which I think it's rather telling. And also the other one that I really never thought I'd say was, have you got that in a size 16?
No, silly. Paddy?
Well, someone said to me in a bar, what have you come as? I thought, it's nice for you to laugh. I thought it was very rude. It was a nice top with a zip up the front, Antony. You know.
Right. Well, I have one of those.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with it. What have you come as? So there's that one I've copied. And also, I find myself saying pardon much more than I like, because in a noisy bar, I can't really hear anyone anymore. So I start, you just,
yes.
You look at the face, you think, I've no idea what they said, but if you respond positively, you say, they've said something you can't hear, you say, try telling that to him.
Well, I feel that's another thing, exactly, because I find myself saying all the time, oh, I can't go there, it's far too noisy. I'm convinced that restaurants suddenly are noisier, whereas, of course, I've just lost any ability to deal with it.
Not as young as you used to be.
Not as young. No, the last time I worked with you, I was very much younger and in a size 8 miniskirt.
And I picked you up from school, I think.
That's very long. Anyway, are you saying anything these days that you can't bear to hear yourself say?
Yes, things like picking up from the kids, and you're having a chat with them, and they'll say, whatever. And I'm saying the same thing. I'll say, whatever. And, you know, things I thought, I'm going to be a liberal dad, but actually, I'm like a dictator at home. So it's sort of...
I'm impressed.
Telling them, you know, you do as you're told. Why? Because I said so. You know, and I always argued with my mother, well, that's not an explanation. You know, what, because I said so. That doesn't tell me anything. So I've learned about that. And, of course, having been on a reality show, I'd say, oh, no, not another reality show, quite often.
Yeah. Didn't you have to eat something horrible in the jungle?
Well, I didn't. It was Jenny Bond. I know she looks like me, but...
Everyone had to eat something horrible.
Yeah, we did. We had to eat. We practiced eating horrible things.
Oh. But did you get to do one of the bush tugger trials, I believe they're called?
Yes.
And what did you have to do?
Didn't you watch the show? He was brilliant on
He was fabulous. And pretending...
Mine was water. Like Waterworld. I was in doing snakes and water spiders and stars underwater.
Would you do it again if you were asked?
Yeah, I had a ball. It took me back to being a kid, really. I was a mischievous little person.
Oh, very glad to hear. Now, Antony, there's something I don't know that everyone is aware of, is that you are the first ever model of disposable nappies.
I am. I was. No, I am.
True.
Yes, I was. My mother was on tour with a show called Brigadoon many moons ago in the early 50s, and I was dragged around all the green rooms, and I was... there was pictures in the sketch and the mirror of all these nappies, and some American company caught on and said, we're just developing this disposable nappy, do you want to be the first to try it? And so I was. Bare bottom on the telly.
And do you keep a photograph of that?
No, I've searched high and low with my mother's possession, but I couldn't find anything.
Oh dear, so she didn't hold
They
on.
probably were the very long ones, because now they're quite sort of... I suppose you couldn't call a nappy cute, but, you know, they're sort of more designerish now, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
But tell me something, because you had such an unconventional background. I mean, in a way, it's something out of a whole other time, with sort of actor, manager, parents and...
Horror story, really.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, I was boarding school at 3.
God, 3. I mean, that is
renamed.
Unbelievable.
Used to be Henry, now Antony, because...
Did you run away or something?
I ran away from the school. I used to sleepwalk a lot. I was in this boarding nursery at the age of 3.
3? I mean, the idea of sending a child away to school, you know, at 3 is it's really
It's a
doesn't...
wonder
you can't
you're a
believe it.
functioning human being, frankly.
Well, I'm seeing a psychiatrist about it at the moment.
Good.
But no, it was...
But didn't somebody sort of abduct you or something? I remember reading this.
I got abused several times on the beatings and the... I actually nicked the cane from the school, which was 3 bits of bamboo wrapped round each other with the knots on the side, and they used to wrap themselves around you, and you'd get lashes across your stomach as well. No, it was pretty horrendous stuff, but I am what I am, I guess.
Yeah, but no, sorry, I wasn't talking about the abuse. I was talking about you disappeared for days. I think.
Oh, I
it might
did,
have
yes.
been
A
this
tramp
summer.
took me off for 4 days.
A tramp took you off.
From Brighton to Rottingdean.
See, now this
really.
sounds like a story you made
but
up.
don't you think, Antony, that I feel that people always talk about, you know, unhappy childhoods as if they're a great burden, but I think they're a great liberation. I mean, not that I can, you know, I'm not about to compete in, you know, much child abuse, although I was whipped a bit at school, but I don't blame them, really. But I do think that it means that your life is so much better when you get older, and I always feel quite sorry for people who had such wonderful childhoods that nothing's ever good as good again.
You're Turner.
So, you know,
Really?
I just think that, don't you feel you're so happy in your life because it isn't as ghastly as that?
I think so, but I actually didn't look back at my childhood and think it was ghastly. I mean, if you were to analyse it, was, but I was thinking of myself a bit like Tarzan of Greystoke. They dragged me out of the jungles, kicking and screaming, to come back into society, and because I'd been so independent all the time, I didn't pay any attention to authority. I couldn't deal with authority. I was a complete and utter nightmare. But actually, you know, it made me what I am: stubborn, independent, very ambitious, very much my own person. But then it did also close some walls around me, and it's only Jay, my wife, now. I would say I see myself as a hard-covered book with a glossy cover, and everyone sees the cover, but nobody managed to turn the pages. And she managed to turn the pages. She softened me up, made me someone who sort of can go into society and without abusing too many people, you know, as I did in my early childhood, and early youth, actually.
But in your early childhood, were you taught to swim by Margaret Rutherford? Is that...
Yeah. Well, it's because of all that theatrical side. My grandmother, who'd been 38 years in India, she had trained at the Webber Douglas Theatre, like my mother did, and when she'd finished her army role, she went back into acting, and she worked with people like Flora Robson, Anna Neagle, and Margaret Rutherford was one of her best friends. So it was a fantastic... She used to come down and she'd throw herself off. She had a swimsuit down to her ankles, you know, and throw herself off the bottom of the garden where I live now, and she'd teach me to swim in the Thames. It was fascinating.
So imagine in a background like that, being able to cook or being interested in food wasn't enormously highly rated.
Absolutely not. My grandmother was furious when she found out.
So did you go into this as an act of rebellion and then stuck to it because you loved it?
Well, I thought it was more financial, really. I saw my parents not earning a lot of money because neither of them stuck at their jobs well enough. They were very good actors. In fact, my godfather, Richard Burton, who was understudying my father at the Royal Shakespeare Company. Well, I call it the Royal Shakespeare Company, but actually, Jonathan Meades ticked me off in my autobiography. It was meant to be the Shakespeare Memorial Company at that time.
Right.
But, hey...
We needn't worry about that.
Exactly.
I think you're never stuck for an anecdote with all these famous people.
I know, I'm going to have to turn him off now.
OK.
Here, I'm going to put you to sleep now, and then you can do some cooking with me in a minute.
Lovely.
Antony and I in the kitchen, ready to bake intense chocolate cookies. Now, they're very intense, because there is more chocolate than you can believe. And you make 12 cookies, and it's a sackload of chocolate. You start off with some melted. Look at that lovely kind of lake of chocolate. Isn't that beautiful? And this amount of chips. This is, bear in mind, for 12 cookies. And that's what makes them really kind of gooey and delicious. And obviously, you start off, when I say obviously, most often when you bake a cookie, you cream butter and sugar. So I've got butter, sugar here, white sugar, brown sugar. Just done the creaming, so I did it in a bowl. There's something very satisfying about working with a bowl and a wooden spoon.
Absolutely.
That you think?
Are these your childhood memories, these
No,
cookies?
these are my made-up childhood memories.
Modern.
I didn't have them, so I have to create them now. And so the dry ingredients, we have flour, bicarb. Now, salt, I think it's really important. I don't know what you think.
Pinch
To have
salt,
salt when you do sweet things. And look at this incredible amount of cocoa. That adds to the intensity of these. And then I've got vanilla and an egg. Now, the odd thing about this, I don't know if you do it like this, is that although normally in baking everything has to be at room temperature, what I do here is I have a really cold egg, fridge cold. But that's also because what I start off by doing... If I make a mess, I apologise in advance. OK, so I'm whipping in the melted chocolate into the butter and sugar. So it's still warm, this chocolate. It's not hot, obviously,
No.
but it's warm. I'm going to give you the bowl to lick out later, so I'll leave this here now.
Thank you.
OK, so that's... yeah. And then will you just crack that cold egg in for me?
Egg.
Do you do this kind of stuff with your children? Look at that. Look at him, isn't he sweet?
I do. I don't... I'm learning today, because, I mean, I do... People who know me know I'm not a great fan of cakes in making them, because my mother always made cakes that ended up like biscuits. They were thin and crispy.
Well, I aim for a biscuit that ends up a bit like a cake. I like a lot going on. Now, this is... I don't mind whether you get flour all over me, but what I need you to do is put the flour and all the bicarb and salt and cocoa in here for me.
Bit by bit, all together.
Do you know, I'm so impatient, I would just bung it all in.
I
mean, it means you make more of a mess, but I don't think that's so terrible. Would you give me some cocoa?
Some cocoa. All of it?
All of it.
OK.
I feel I should say, don't use drinking chocolate. I don't feel you will, but I just, as a nervous tick, want to say.
Is it... I didn't ask. Was that plain flour, self-raising flour?
That was plain flour, just with a bit of bicarb for a bit of heft. OK, tip in those if you would.
My goodness me.
You're working.
Look at that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chips.
I know. These are a real treat. If I want to make myself very popular at home, I make these. And I'll tell you what I do, because it makes 12, and yet I think this is really at their best when they're just out of the oven. I do 6, and I put 6 in a tray and bung it in the deep freeze, and then once they're hard, I put them in a bag, and then you can just cook those from frozen. So it means you're never that far away from some very good cookies. Now, are you up to making... These,
well, I'll try.
I mean, I don't mean can you, I meant are you willing?
Well, you're probably right, can I? I'm not sure I can.
Silly. Can't be doing that. OK, have an ice cream scoop.
An ice cream
and
scoop.
And a palette knife, which is my tools of choice for me.
Right.
OK, so this is when I think... You know how some people do bricklaying for therapy? I think there's something of that in here. So you put this in your ice cream scoop, and you kind of wodge it down and press it right down in there, and then you'd make it nice... Like
this
you're doing bricklaying. I know. Well, I just do it myself. I don't think. I'm sure it's not, you know, efficient, but it's pleasurable, and I think pleasure is more important.
Right.
OK, and then I just go.
Voila.
Lovely.
And they spread.
Ice cream. They spread, yes.
I might have to show this one to Mary Berry. Pretend it was mine. Push it down.
Yes.
Squidge.
See, look how neat you are. Very good. See, look how neat. It's funny is that. How someone's temperament's showing in even the cookies they form.
But do you think I'm sort of slightly too precise?
In a nice way.
Yeah.
There's room for everyone and everything in the world, and someone has to tip the balance away. Look what I'm doing here. It looks like someone, you know, it looks like a 3-year-old has done this. Sometimes when I make them, I have to pretend the children have made them because they're so bad. OK.
OK. Right.
See, you could do this with your children in a very nice way.
Absolutely. I think this is great.
Or are you too strict when you cook?
Oh, no. I'm not at all. I don't mind a bit of a mess at all, because I think they've got to learn, haven't they?
OK, you ready?
Yeah. Oh.
Look, I can't even get mine out now. I've been chatting such a lot. Now, come on, darling. That's it. That's fine. I think we can... So you can carry on like that. They get in the oven.
Yeah. I think what, 6 to...
minutes.
So you leave a decent amount of space for them to spread out.
Yes, they really do spread. I'm going to show you. I'm going to spread them here now. So this... is what they look like. They really do spread, but they stay quite gungy. I want you to have that one. That's been at a colder part of the oven.
And what temperature would the oven be?
170, if that
they
makes
are.
any
Look at
sense
this.
to you.
Yes, 170. I'm quite a modern man. That would be about, what, 350?
That's Mark 3, isn't it? Yeah. They're nice, aren't they? But you can tell there's an awful lot of chocolate in there. I'm going to take a bit of yours.
Yeah, it's gooey. It's lovely.
So look, you can see...
Slightly warm, oozing.
Can you see how it all oozes inside? When you have... They are very extravagant.
Totally.
But you know what I think? But I'll tell you what I think, is that if I have people for supper, or if I go going to someone else's for supper, I would rather have no pudding, but one of these with coffee. And they're very easy, because you can make that up earlier and stick it in the fridge.
Fantastic.
So I think it's easier.
Not good for my diet, but who cares?
I know it'll make you feel reinvigorated. Can I give you this to wipe your hands with? Now, odd though it may seem to anyone who remembers the 70s, caftans are once more hip. There is something tempting about clothes that are both loose-fitting and fashionable. So here's a selection of this season's crop. And I want to look at these, and I want us to be able to tell, well, can we tell which ones are expensive and which ones are cheaper? Now, the caftan is a difficult item, I think, to wear. I know they're kind of everywhere.
Boys wear
but boys can wear them. Everyone can wear them.
David Beckham's been seen in many a caftan.
You see, I do think a bit you have to be either a waif or...
I am.
Or to be something of a kind of the style and stature of an African potentate. I don't think they look good normal. I mean, I always want to look like a new gay in one and turn out looking like Mama Cass. But I'm willing to try. And I think, I don't know, this one would be quite a good place to start, don't you think? I'm a bit worried about the vibrancy of the colour.
I quite like the little V at the bottom there to sort of hint of your bikini under.
That's the difficulty. You couldn't wear as a dress with that thing
There's
going
nothing
on.
little about that V.
No,
No.
That's no more than a hint.
That's more than a hint of V.
I think, yes, I would want a caftan to conceal more. But having said that, I think if you were the sort of person to be sitting around and wanting to put something over a swimming costume as you had a drink or dinner, then this would be fine. I would say I'd be surprised if this were very expensive. I think it's a sort of middle range. I think I would say it's about £30.
I think it's much more.
I
think it's more than 30.
I think it's cheap.
But Anthony, anything with lots of detail is normally expensive. And also there's the problem when it gets hot in the sun, if you are putting over a bikini, it gets a bit all those little bits get very, very hot.
Are there any sequins?
Yeah.
OK, I'm going to say...
130.
160.
Oh, well, I've said 30.
45.
It's purple, Lizzie, 108. I find that very difficult to believe. But there you go. Now, Antony, do we think yours is higher or lower in price?
Well, I think this is rather stylish myself. I quite like it. It's got much more class. It's...
Is he looking at the same caftan
I am. I like the... I mean, you have to be the right shape boobs to wear this, don't you? But,
but is that... So you think small so they fit in or big so they can be revealed? That's what I
well, I think if they're too large, you're going to need some sellotape. But I think it's quite sexy. Yeah, the old trick of... Then you never done that?
You do that?
I do it regularly.
Toupee tape.
Well, same thing, toupee tape. Yeah.
No.
I think it's... I quite like the sort of tie-dye look. Sort of...
I think it must be lower than 108.
Is it silk?
No.
That's a good question.
No.
I think it could be a less is more situation. I think it could
be. You're paying for style here.
Yes,
You think
style.
it's more? You think more,
Yes.
do you? I think less. Could
I
you
think you're paying that
show us?
ostentatious.
What do you think? I want you to guess first before you open.
I think it's more expensive.
Less.
100,
About what would you
150.
say?
I'd say about 130.
£30.
OK, come on then.
Oh!
Right, not £8.
Oh,
That's
gosh.
incredible.
That's so good.
It is.
I spend a fortune on my wife, now I won't have to.
Paddy, you've got something very, very exciting going
Well,
on there.
this reminds me of the sort of thing Eutha Joyce used to wear in George and Mildred. And it makes me feel very happy as a result. And if you can see here, it comes with its own Viagra sewn on the front, look. With its own little blue pill on
I
there.
wouldn't know what colour Viagra is, but you obviously do.
I've been told it's blue. This one is basically a very fine fabric. It feels to me... I mean, I don't know what that is, but I like to say cheesecloth. Am I right?
No.
Oh.
I would say that is an expensive module.
Yeah, this feels...
Is that chiffon?
Chiffon. Yes, that's the word.
Well, I think anything would have to be higher than this, so I think you wouldn't...
I think this is an example of you can have a lot of money and no taste.
No, it's trapped
it's
in
possible.
time, but look how light it is. You could go...
What's happening? So is it a sleeveless caftan?
Well, it's got a little knot here.
You put your whole... You have them dropping down.
So what's your view of the price? I'm going for way up there.
Yes, this is way up there, especially if you lift it up like that. It's
Yeah, I'd love you to pop
way
it
up there.
out.
I'm going
220, I think.
£500 Joan Collins in the stud.
500?
What do you think, Paddy? What are you going for?
375.
Me too.
200, 200.
240 from Anita Batik.
240,
No,
that's
antique
good.
batik, not Anita.
Oh, sorry.
Antique batik.
Sorry, Antique Batik.
Antique batik.
OK, now we
I
move
can
on.
see you in that one, Maria. I have a feeling
please.
you'll be taking that away with you this year.
No, I prefer yours over there. But this one has got nice little belt holes here for a very titchy tiny belt. So if you're very incy-peensy, you could actually wear it belted around there.
I'd like
so your
that.
little arms
I'd
don't
like
flap
that.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a sexy
Antony?
little thing, really.
I
You
think
think
that
it's a
when
sexy little
Antony
thing?
talks about class, this hasn't got any.
No, I think it's quite
But
sexy.
would you... He thinks it's a sexy little thing.
I mean, I'd prefer if it had a slightly lower cleavage, but apart from that, I think it's lovely.
I think on you it would look good, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go
Yes. Do you
very
think
much
it's higher or lower than
that.
240, Antony?
I think it probably is lower.
Yes, mine was 240.
Maria?
Yes.
What do you think? I want you
Lower.
to...
Lower. I hope it's lower because it's horrible.
120.
What sort of price do you think?
I'm going for £1.
No, be sensible. Be sensible.
I am going for £40.
40?
£40.
OK. Yes.
What is it?
Holy maloney. 776.
See, I knew I had taste.
Yes.
You thought that one was expensive?
Why are you clasping your boobs as you said it?
So, which one's our favourite, do you think?
Yours.
That one, yours.
Well, you see, I think I would just wish this was in a kind of aquary blue. Do you think they'll do it in that colour?
Oh, yes, definitely.
I just find purple is a bit
All colours of the rainbow that's available in.
Do you know that?
No, I haven't got a clue.
But this is a bit... This matches you.
I can see Cilla Black in that.
OK. I think now we'll leave the caftans where they are. And if that hasn't put my studio audience in a holiday mood, I've got something to keep them well chilled. I've got 5 Magimix ice cream makers to give away. So grab your keypad, please, and if it lights up, please would you stand up now? Congratulations. Paddy, stay there, don't start pouring it out for me,
The audience
please, and
are
I will
desperate for it.
worry. Look, I have here, of course, my little trolley.
Oh,
I'm going to make you a special... I'm going to make you one of my special cocktails. Actually, this is a fizzy wine and lime. It's like a sweet fizzy wine. It's a Moscato d'Asti. It's not very expensive, about £4. This actually comes from the River Cafe. I drank that there, but I've since taken it as my own. And you just pour, in fact, with great ease, a bottle of wine into a jug or pitcher.
Fizzy.
So that's slightly sparkling wine,
Fizzy.
is it?
Sparkling sweet, tastes like crushed grapes. This is when normally I'd be going into the kitchen to whip something up quickly for you, but this was so quick it didn't seem worth the effort of getting up. So I cut it into the... So here, limes. So I like things with a bit of an edge, so I put about the juice of 5 limes. You could do 4. In like that.
Cheap.
That's it. It tastes like a wine version of a Tom Collins, if that makes sense. And even if it doesn't, it does. So here we are, the fizzy wine with lime, and I am going to pour you some. Actually, I think, to show your manners and sense of etiquette, you should pass this round for everyone.
Right, I will, of course.
I know I didn't have to remind you.
Thanks, Antony, very much. I'm going to pass it on, take the lead from you, see?
OK, there you are.
Manners are... It doesn't cost anything to have good
All
manners.
the
does it?
audience.
Not at all.
That's great. I think you do have them naturally, don't you? You are very well.
I was well brung up.
Ooh.
My
Is it
grand
too
brung me
sharp
up
for
nice.
you?
That's quite... makes your eyes go...
Why did you start already?
Because I have no manners.
Glass and
OK,
scarcity.
chin-chin.
She broke my wrist. Cheers, Antony.
Yeah.
You see, I love that.
Cheers. You had the second slurp already, haven't had any.
No. No manners and an alcoholic.
And
Nice,
it's
isn't
little-
it?
little-
See, I think it's really refreshing when you and also in summer, I think it's quite nice to have huge jugs of drinks everywhere rather than just opening things. And it feels like a cocktail, but is wine. Like, you know, anyway.
We really should be wearing caftans to be drinking this, I think.
I know. Well, if only. Anyway, thank you very much, Antony.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paddy. Thank you, Maria. And thank you. Bye-bye.